SpaceCoder is going to let us know. All right. He made a video called Star Citizen. Is it all a time sink? I mean, I think in general, video games are, but yeah. Let's see what he has to say. I wonder if his approach is Star Citizen wasting our time with like all the quantum travel and the elevators and this and that? Because like I think in general, you know, you escape reality and yeah, it's a good little waste of time. Let's see what his approach to this video is. But it was certainly a clickable title. So let's see.
In today's video, I would like to talk about some of the time sinks that are currently in the game and try to figure out if these are deliberate or just poor design.
All right,
and
all
think
right.
about whether
He
we're
went at it the way
misunderstanding
I was
their
hoping
intent.
he would.
As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the army.
We know Sly
And
Fi.
the comments you guys are sacrificing are clearly working. The channel has had the best month ever. At the time of recording, we're about 50 watch hours away from monetization. So thank you all and keep it up.
Oh, guys, let me put the link in chat right now for him.
A lot of backers complain
Let's
about
help him
how
out.
many time sinks there are currently in the game. Today, I would like to go over a few that I think are relevant and think about whether they're actually intended to waste our time or if they're missing something to make them relevant or if they're a placeholder for future features. So let's start with the basics, tram rides and elevators. I know I talk about this one all the time. I did this.
When was this video posted? July 18th. I believe the elevators were sped up by that time in the PTU. But yeah, trams. Oof.
This in a previous video, but basically in every major landing zone in Stanton, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to go from your hab to the vehicle spawn terminal, which is actually not that bad. The actual problem is that most of this time will be spent.
Okay, he says it's actually not that bad. I find it personally to be very frustrating and very annoying that after you die, it's tough to get back into whatever you were doing. So most people set their spawn on the station above or an L1, whatever. What would we compare not that bad to? What happens in other games when you die? Where do you go? How much time does it take to set back up and get back into the game? Most games don't have spaceships. Most games, some games you might lose your stuff and you have to re-gear. Some games you don't lose your stuff, you don't have to re-gear. I don't know. It's what do we compare to with this game? It's kind of difficult because Star Citizen's kind of in a realm of its own. Most games, I imagine, put you in a location not where you died. Some games, I believe WoW does it. I know I always go back to Ultima Online because that's my real MMO experience, is when you die, you're still exactly where you die. You're a ghost and somebody can resurrect you. So there's that. But then sometimes people aren't around to resurrect you. You have to go find a shrine, something like that. Or I can't remember actually what happens if you decide to just like give up kind of thing. So yeah, it's a weird comparison. What are we comparing to? I don't know.
And sprinting through corridors or standing in a tram. And this kind of gets annoying, especially when you have to do it several times per session. Now, there is a reason for the tram rides and the elevators and long corridors to be there. They let the game unload areas that you can't see or are too far away from.
I don't think
which
Daisy is a comparison game.
Especially with the large and complicated cities we have now and will have in the future. So, is there a way to add more meaning to these areas?
Well, Daisy's design is you start at the coast, you run, you go north, you die, you start back at the coast, and it's like a full wipe, you know, start over again kind of thing. It was like all Daisy's design. And his question is this design or is it not? Why is this guy going to trams several times per session? What the fuck? Just live on a station. I don't know. I think that's a valuable question. But in reality, the way stations are now, they don't have gun shops. They don't have kind of the infrastructure that a planet has, right? So as Star Citizen is growing, the major landing zones that's where you upgrade your ships. That's where you do. So there are reasons to go to them now. I think the intention is really to make these places that you want to spend time at. We don't want to spend time at them because of the time sinks he's kind of bringing up.
Well, not really. But eventually, there might be NPCs we can meet along the way and get missions and information from. Also, we have the technology to display real-time information on screens in-game. So we could have screens that show us information or news, basically giving us at least something while we traverse these areas.
Yeah, I
Speeding
don't
up the
think
trams
that's
and elevators might also work, but would probably look weird. Also, I wish we
elevators are
could
sped up. They're
eliminate the
good.
short elevator rides at the Orison and New Babbage spaceport, because I don't think they're necessary and they tend to be broken quite often. Moving on, quantum travel. Now, I don't really consider this a major problem, but a lot of players are. The problem is not that quantum travel takes too long, because we know that eventually it will take even longer. The problem is that there is nothing to do while in quantum. Now, even that is
Yeah.
not entirely true. We have
And that is going to get resolved with things like engineering, maybe managing your cargo, food and drink, planning your next jump. I don't know. So there's going to be things to do, managing your inventory, all that stuff. But like you said, a little bit of madness. There's most ships. The upgrade to the quantum drive is the most impactful upgrade you can make, and jumps with good drives is not a huge deal. And again, so when his question is posing, are these time sinks by design on purpose or are they bad design? I think the quantum jump, and specifically thinking about the future of pyro and larger systems or future systems, well, I think that they're by design, and in general, I find them to be good design. The issue is they're good design only if and only if you want to spend time around a given area. We're very much in an incomplete scenario, but let's use Hurston as an example because I think it's the best example that we have right now. At Hurston, you have 2 mission givers. You have lots of reputation lines, I guess we could call it. You have the Red Wind missions coming up, things like that. So reasons to stay around Hurston, and there's reasons to stay there. So the idea behind quantum traveling to another location, well, it would be worth the travel if when you got to a new location, there was a ton of stuff to do there and it was like going to a new area to explore. It's not the case right now. So I think quantum travel is done well by design if and only if the rest of the game is finished, right? The tram, I'm not so sure about that yet. I think the tram comes from, now this is going to go way back. I think the tram comes from the old days of Privateer 2. And Privateer 2, you would take a tram to a different location in a city. The thing is that tram ride was a cutscene. And Chris Roberts, in his infinite imagination and I don't know, I feel like lack of wisdom in this scenario, said, I want to take what I made. Well, I guess it was Aaron back then. I'm pretty sure Aaron was the privateer guy, but I want to take what was made back then and make it immersive and real. And yeah, it's almost a little too real. Like, people don't like tram rides in real life, and I think that they don't really like them necessarily in game. But going back to the quantum question, is a tram ride worth it if your gameplay is improved by going to another place? Right? I do want to have my home spawn be on a planet. I do want my home spawn to be at a real busy, bustling location. the space stations don't have all the infrastructure and all the things that, you may want when you respawn or set down for the night. But we'll continue the
Combat
video. There's a little
interdictions
bit
that
more to
seem
go.
to happen on occasion, especially when traveling short distances between moons. And a while ago we had combat and non-combat interdictions on long-range travel as well. Some of you may not remember this, but it was possible for you to be stopped in quantum between planets and run into some pirates or an asteroid field with some wrecks or some
Still
NPC cargo
possible.
ships. This gave us a bit of variety during quantum. So this problem could actually be fixed pretty easily. Just reintroduce the random encounters and maybe add some more variety so that we can potentially gain something from them. Though if I recall correctly, the reason these encounters were removed was that CIG couldn't find a good frequency of them happening, so that might require some tweaking in the future. Moving on, and I'm actually surprised that this one made it on the list. Food and drink. Now, food and drink are supposed to be a part of the survival mechanics of Star Citizen.
Yeah.
However, it seems that the majority of players have the understanding that food and drink mechanics were supposed to be optional buffs, rather than something that can kill you. But this is not actually what I want to talk about, because these mechanics are still developing and may change. And I actually couldn't find any mention of this anywhere, so if you know where it was mentioned, please link it in the comments. But what I actually want to talk about is a bug that was fixed.
I don't know if I can find it that quickly, but I believe it was like way back when 10 for the chairman kind of stuff. People asked about food and drink. People asked about survival mechanics, using the bathroom, things like that. And he had said something like food and drink would only provide buffs. There would be no survival mechanics in Star Citizen. They also said there would be no crafting. Then he mentions Valheim crafting, right? The entire game has changed. And I think for the better, but it's also the reason why we have so many delays, because they didn't make their mind up and stick to it with any one thing. And yeah, people are going to get mad about it.
Back in 3.15, every time you logged into the game, your hunger and thirst would be at 100%. This was a bug which was fixed, but I think it was actually pretty useful. I think it makes sense that while you're away, your character would find something to eat and drink. This would save everyone the few minutes it takes to find and eat something at the start of every session. Now, this is not a lot of time, but generally speaking, I think that for an everyday session of doing some missions for an hour or two, there should be very little time taken between logging in and doing what you want to do. But I will get back to this later. This list wouldn't be complete if I didn't mention the current state.
I mean, okay. Again, I think it's just good game design to go, we want you guys to prepare yourselves. We want, like, it takes a few minutes to prepare yourself for the rest of time when it comes to food and drink. As well as food and drink may be found, as you travel around the world fairly easily. So I'm not against the food and drink thing at all. He does seem to be against it a little bit because it does take some time to go and buy the stuff. It almost seems like again, did I already check when this video was posted? It was the 18th. It almost seems like he hasn't played the PTU, hasn't read the patch notes. You go to a terminal now and buy 30, 40, 50, 100 food and drink, and then you're good. So, you spawn in, pull it over to your inventory, eat, drink, bang, bang, you're ready to go. Bring a little bit more with you for later.
Of the inventory. Now, I feel like it's important to mention that the upcoming wipe will make inventory management easier indirectly by removing all our items.
For a short period of time.
But the more important news appeared in one of the recent monthly reports. We're going to get a move all button to our inventories at some point. As far as I can remember, there was no delivery date for this feature, but at least it means that our feedback is being heard. While this is nice, the inventory system is still not very user-friendly, and I often find myself wasting a lot of time moving items from place to place, and this problem tends to get worse with the increasing amount of items.
Agreed.
There is unfortunately no easy solution to all the inventory issues. I think some of the performance issues will be solved in 3.17 too. Usability issues and
I know an easy solution. Use a paper doll.
Missing features will have to be added over time, but I'm hoping that we will see some improvement in 3.18. Now, some of the things I mentioned could be considered bad design and should be fixed. but others like food and to some extent inventory might have a different purpose. Star Citizen is meant to be a simulation and moderately hardcore one as well. This means that your actions have consequences and you need to be prepared for the actions you're planning to undertake.
Exactly. So like have food and drink ready to go and what you're doing.
And the time you spend preparing for certain actions should be proportional to the duration and difficulty of that action. For example, if I'm planning to deliver boxes for 2 hours, then my preparation time should be short to none. It's a low risk activity and I won't play long enough to need supplies or refueling. On the other hand, if my plan is to spend the afternoon clearing bunkers with my friends, I need to spend quite a bit of time making sure all the gear, weapons, and vehicles are ready in the right place, and that I have a plan for restocking and repairing when needed. And this is the thing that will need to get balanced in the future. But right
Restocking what though? Because as you're doing those, you should be looting.
now, there's very little CAG can do about it in the short term. In conclusion, there is no singular time sink in Star Citizen. It's a collection of small issues that tend to build up and cause frustration. However,
Yes, and the people who were saying that they like the trams and stuff, the trams are part of the larger like tons of time sinks that are in the game that add up and kind of make the game annoying. If you look at the tram in a vacuum, like, is it that annoying? No, it's like 1 minute. It's not that big of a
it
deal.
seems that CIG is listening
Over
to
time,
feedback and trying to
multiple
implement
times
it
a
as best
session.
they can. Though I fear that with the altered release
annoying.
schedule for 3.18, we might not get any quality of life improvements. But eventually, I believe that CAG will find the correct balance between actual gameplay and the preparation gameplay. With that being said, that's it for tonight. Do you think there are too many time sinks in Star Citizen? Which one do you think is the most annoying? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.
Personally, to answer this question, do I think there are too many time sinks in Star Citizen? Maybe. Yes. I don't think there's enough gold sinks in Star Citizen, but there's certainly enough time sinks. The one that I find most annoying is the tram, personally. Or, oh yeah, that's a really good one that he did not mention. PC 101, ship claim time. And remember when they wanted to raise that claim time in the PTU? Those are annoying, but I think claim time is essential. I think it needs to get longer as the game grows, and you have to look at it from the perspective of I don't know, a few different ways. Let's take you're in a PvP scenario, and maybe it's not in an armistice or not in a monitored zone, so you're not sending anybody to jail or anything like that. Well, do you want people to just instantly respawn and come back into the fight and have the fight never end? I've played games like that. That design is very frustrating, very annoying. When you win, you should win. And creating negative and punishments for dying is part of the game's design, and I think should be kind of important. But yeah, so I don't know. But I think that my time, like your time spent on planets and your time getting back to your ship, turning your ship on, getting it going can be kind of a pain in the butt, but can be mitigated by choosing the right respawn points and spending time in one given area, which is definitely by design. So